Step back, Jay. Hard. Bullseye.
Sixers looking very focused in the second half. Maxey looking for more. He's got it!
Daniel House, little up and under on the lob, and then flies in with the emphatic one-hand jam.
Niang looking for more from outside. Bang, bang, George Niang!
Joel, the process heavy.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Pick Swap Media YouTube channel. My name is Barnard, and I'm here to break down the 9 vs 10 matchup in the East region of the play-in tournament. We have the Chicago Bulls taking on the Toronto Raptors. Raptors favored by 5.5 points in the matchup. The over/under is set at 214.5, while the Bulls are plus 185 moneyline underdogs. The Bulls this season went 40-42, finished the season 6-4 in their last 10. They went 22-19 at home and 18-23 on the road. Across the NBA, they ranked 22nd in points per game at 113.1, also are 19th in pace and 24th in offensive rating. They hold opponents to the 7th fewest points per game. That's 111.8 on the season. Also, the rank 8th best in opponents' field goal percentage. The Patrick Beverley move at the deadline or through the buyout market is how he eventually landed there, has been a positive addition. Since the addition of Patrick Beverley, the Bulls are 13-9. Adds a little stinginess, some personality, and some spunk and stuff that team needed and lacked, and he's brought it and it's helped turn things around. I know the Pat Bev effect, there's a lot joked about, but there's something to it in the way that he has never missed a playoffs in his life, and I know from what his comments that he doesn't plan on this being the year. The Bulls are also 30th in three-pointers made and three-point attempts on the season, just 28.9 three-point attempts per game, which is incredibly low based in the modern NBA. They do rank 16th in three-point percentage, so pretty mediocre and okay there, 36.1% that is as a team. They're holding opponents to the 29th holding opponents to 29th in three-point attempts, so not giving up a ton or are giving up a ton, I'm sorry. So they're attempting 28.9 and allowing 37.1. So not a great battle beyond the three-point arc there. Looking at the key figures for the Bulls, we have DeMar DeRozan leading the charge, 24.5 points per game, 5.1 assists, 4.6 rebounds. Never seen him miss a mid-range shot in my life, and that comes in handy come playoff time. He's shooting 50.4% from the field on the season, a 52.2% effective field goal percentage. Both pretty solid numbers considering how much damage he does inside the arc and the not analytically friendly shots that he tends to lean towards. They also have Zach LaVine, who has stepped up and becoming more and more of the guy. He's averaging 24.8 points per game on the air, 4.5 rebounds, and 4.2 assists as well. He does his damage from beyond the arc, of course, 7.1 three-point attempts per game. He's connecting at a 37.5% rate, shooting just 48.5% from the field overall. Nikola Vucevic is also a key part of the team, a guy that goes under the radar a lot when talking about this Bulls team and just the NBA in general. Vucevic this season averaging 17.6 points, 11.0 rebounds, and 3.2 assists, shooting 34.9% from beyond the arc at 4.2 attempts per game as well, and 52% from the field overall. Patrick Beverley, Alex Caruso, Ayo Patrick Williams, they have some stingy, hard-nosed defenders that they can kind of shift around and some cool defensive units that I've really liked, especially of late. Been playing much better basketball to close out the season. Looking at the X factors for this Bulls team, number one, I have bench scoring. It's going to be interesting to see the way they stagger these lineups. I think you pretty much have to make sure one of LaVine or DeRozan is constantly on the floor so you have that type of scoring punch. The bench, though, there's some players that I really like. There's not a lot of just go-to scorers. I think they would benefit from a guy if they can find a way to bring in somebody like this next year who just has a pop off the bench. Not necessarily Jordan Clarkson, but similar to that type of style, a guy who can come in, change the picture, and do some damage by creating for himself. Also, three-point volume. That's going to be a big deal, and I get it kind of gets minimized in the playoffs when the pace slows down and every possession is more important, but you still got to win the battle, especially in today's NBA. So who's going to step up from beyond the arc and see what happens there? Let's shift gears and talk about the Toronto Raptors here. Raptors, a pretty mediocre season, a step back from what they seem to be building. It's been a frustrating year up in Toronto. They 41-41 overall on the year, 6-4 in their last 10. They're 27-14 at home this year, but just 14-27 in games played in the United States. They rank 24th in points per game, 112.9. per game on the season. They're also 26th in pace and 11th in offensive rating. They're holding opponents to the fourth fewest opponents' points per game at just 111.4. That's pretty solid. Also 12th in defensive rating. They rank first in steals, first in turnovers, second in offensive rebounding, but just 30th in defensive rebounding. They also are 21st in three-pointers allowed and 28th in three-point percentage, which is, to me, not the biggest positive thing. I think there's a little bit of, we obviously know it's a make or miss league. We see it all the time, but I think there's some aspect of, if you're reliant on your opponent just missing shots, that's not the best way to go about it. So something to watch there. As far as their biggest key contributors, number one, we got Pascal Siakam, a guy who started off the season on a tear, has cooled off a little bit. Overall, he's averaging 24.2 points per game, 7.8 rebounds, 5.8 assists, shooting 48% from the field, just 32.4% from three on 4 attempts per game. Like I said, he did take a little bit of a step back as the season went on. A guy who has plenty of dollars in his eyes as he looks. He's got a big contract extension kind of looming, trying to prove it. Getting it done in the play-in and hopefully the playoffs would be the biggest way to make a statement and assure that happens. I'm personally not a Pascal Siakam believer. I don't think he is the quality of player that the Raptors keep trying to put him in that category of, but it will be interesting to see. There's also OG Anunoby, who I am a fan of, averaging 16.8 points per game on the year, 5.0 rebounds, 2.0 assists, shooting 47.6% from the field overall, but 38.7% from three on 5.5 three-pointer attempts. There was a lot of noise about him potentially getting shipped off at the trade deadline. He obviously stuck around in Toronto. There's a hefty price tag that they were asking for OG, and rightfully so, because he is a guy who fits the modern NBA, is terrific, fits the identity that Toronto has really built with these switchable, versatile wings, and just can muck things up, make things crazy. Last up, I have Fred VanVleet that I want to talk about. He's averaging 19.3 points per game, 7.2 assists, 4.1 rebounds. The guy who's kind of the outlier in that switchable, versatile style. We know Fred VanVleet, not the biggest guy, a guy who's willing to let it fly from deep. His 8.8 three-point attempts per game are vital to this team. He shoots it at a 34.2% clip from beyond the arc and just 39.3% from the field overall, so not the most efficient this year or any year for Fred VanVleet. As far as the X factors for the Raptors, number one, that is Fred VanVleet. He's a guy who he is that differentiating factor in what they have when they need to get some go-to scoring, a guy some perimeter shooting. He's kind of the guy that needs to step up and do it. How you feel about if he's capable is a different conversation, and also not a guy that I'm a huge believer in. And number two, I just have shooting overall. This is a team that when they're at their best, they're playing defensive basketball. They're getting out in transition. They're getting second chance opportunities, put back dunks, put back lay-ins, things like that. But when it comes down to it, you just got to find a way to score and create in the half court in under 24 seconds with the shot clock winding down. I don't feel great about the Raptors. So that is why my prediction here is I do think the Bulls get the upset victory and find a way to win this one overall. There's not really any significant holes in this Bulls team. They can win in a variety of different ways, which to me is super appealing as you get into the playoffs. When you look at the kind of script for what it takes to win for each of these teams, the Bulls can do it in a number of ways. They can get out and run. They can lock in and play a defensive style. They can shoot from deep. They can create from the mid-range. The Raptors are pretty much one and done. They have their way. They have their style of play. And if you get them off that style, it's kind of over for them. And sure, they have a chance and they have talent. And you could even argue that they're maybe the more talented overall team. But I just think this Chicago Bulls team is better constructed. They've been playing their best basketball. And I expect them to get the win in this one. Thanks for watching. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe and tune in for my other breakdowns.